Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator of human race, and among these are life, liberty, and the
Good evening, my fellow Americans. Yes, it is I, your lovable host, Elrod, coming to you live from my bunkerized home studio somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire. Yes, indeed, where the state motto is live free or die. It is not big government or bust. Yes, it is Monday, back to work day, December the 10th, in the year of our Lord 2012, as we march ever closer to that December 21st deadline for all of us, or possibly most of us. You know, I know there's somebody over the weekend that said, oh yeah, it's going to be real funny, Rod, when you're dead. And to which I reply, well, one of two things. If I'm to believe all the secularists out there, I'm not going to know if I'm dead, because there's not going to be anything after that. I'll just be as if I never existed. So I'm not going to know. So it really doesn't matter. Or if it is like many of us who are of a faith, believe that there's something after, I'm not going to be laughing because if there's a heaven, and I fully believe I'm going to heaven, I'm going to be joyous, Jack. Nothing funny about that. So in either case, the joke is on all the sourpusses out there. But then again, you know, the sourpusses will be dead too, so they're really not going to know. Look, you know, all I can say is, folks, there are people that are real serious about the wrong thing. I mean, they try to be serious as a heart attack about the wrong things. Look, we're all going to die. That is for certain. None of us who are born and survive birth are ever going to get out of this life alive. You know, I don't know how many times I've said it on the show and elsewhere. Look around. Look around you. I don't care where you are. Look at all the people. Even if you can't see somebody's face, just if you're at your house, look at your neighbors. And I want you to project out. This is December 10th. Let's just go December 21st. Let's just fast forward a few days to December 21st. It's December 21st. 2012. I want you to project out to December 21st, 2112. How many people do you think around you, around your neighborhood, around your office are going to be alive 2112? That's 100 years from now. 99.9% of everybody around you is not, including yourself, is not going to be here. I'm sorry to tell you that. I know some people are thinking, well, that's just a bummer. That's a downer. That's morbid. No, that's a fact of life and death. And if you're not going to be able to make light of it, now don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about just constantly inappropriately being funny or trying to be funny and being humorous about death. It's not when somebody's feeling really, really bad about it, somebody dying. That's probably not the best time to try to be humorous. But when we're talking about the supposed end of the world, which the Mayans have not talked about the end of the world and being anywhere near on their calendar being this day. There's nothing. Look, I know people. I've heard they're having end of the world parties. You know how they have hurricane parties and stuff. There are people having this is the holiday season, time for parties. So there are people going to have end of the world parties on December 21st. And why not? Because it's a weekend night. It's Friday night. Unless, of course, the world ends during rush hour. Now that would suck too. Think about it. If the world just continuously, ended during rush hour on the way home from work all over the world. Well, rush hour is different in it's different in some countries, but let's just say the world decides to end between 3 and 9 p.m. Eastern time. That's that's rush hour for a good part of the planet within the rush hour realm. So yeah, that would kind of suck on your way home from a long week. You won't even get paid for that week. Think about it. World's going to end and you won't even get paid for it. Even if the world doesn't end, maybe we have some great upheaval, like worldwide earthquake. You still won't, and you survive. You still won't get paid. You think your company's going to be around? I know, Rod, this is serious stuff, man. We need to be prepared for the end of the world. I know that. Look, if it happens, I'll have, I'm not going to have egg on my face because if I did, people would try to eat my face because there'll be so many starving people. I know. There's another one. I got a million of them, folks. Hang on. Hang around. I hope you realize that my making light and being jovial of what some people think to be a very serious and solemn and dire situation shows that I don't take this stuff seriously. Because there are people that said, "Well, you must be one of those doomsdayer, Rod, because you've talked about survival." Yeah. Survival for natural disaster. Survival in the case of economic upheaval. Look, we've been through the Great Depression. We could have another Great Depression. There's nothing out there that says that we can't. I'm not talking about these doomsdayers or survivalists that build bunkers out of school buses and bury them 10 feet below ground. I'm not talking about the survivors that take truck trailers, tractor trailers, and take the trailer part and 27 of them or something, or 30 of them, and make themselves a fort, metal fort compound with food for like 20 people for 50 years. I'm just talking about being prepared. Look, I don't know how many times I got to go back to recent history has shown that people, not just Americans, but people who should know better, which are really Americans, are just dumb sometimes. Maybe it's just because they're too busy depending on somebody else to take care of them. We've got that mentality here in this country. We've got a huge mentality of people wanting to be taken care of by somebody else. It is. It's the truth. People want somebody else to take it. Otherwise, how do you explain having a government being styled the way it is. And people voting for those people who style the government the way it is now. We got Obama back in office. What does Obama want to do? He wants to turn us into some sort of socialist utopia, which is an oxymoron because, one, there's no such thing as a utopia, and two, they're sure as hell in the socialist utopia. I don't know what else to tell people about that, but there are people that actually hate our Constitution. That may come as a shock and surprise to some people. I don't often do this, but let me read you something directly. This is off my Facebook page. And I wrote last week or last Friday, I put in a post. And I said, in honor of one of my favorite movies, Shrek. Now, just think, it's Shrek now. Think of Donkey here. Donkey. And, I love that movie. Shrek was hilarious. But here's something that Donkey would say if he were a true American patriot. And this is what I came up with. I've got a Constitution, and I ain't afraid to protect it. I'm a black man on the edge. Now, some of you are just going to miss it. Because you don't know who Donkey is, and you don't know what Shrek is. So watch the movie Shrek, and you'll get it. Some of you who've seen it still won't get it. And I'm not going to explain it because it won't be funny anymore. But here's something. The comments came from this is really kind of funny in itself. Here, let me read to you from one Frozine Thomas. Now, she says, ha 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 ha. You go from bad to worse. You forget that people died to make you part of the Constitution, fool. You were chattel, Rod. You've only had the right to vote, be educated, marry who you love, eat in a house in the funkies of restaurants, able to drink out of a water fountain in the last 4 decades, after much blood, sweat, and tears that were shed to bring you into human status. Now, first of all, 4 decades? 40 years? That blacks have only been free for 40 years? Well, that's news to me. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt because she must be talking about in Southern Democrat controlled states, it was very difficult for blacks to get along. The colored folk. They in Southern Democrat-controlled states, they couldn't eat in the same lunchroom or diner as a white man, as white folk. They couldn't drink out of the same clean water fountain as the white folk. They couldn't use the same decent sanitary public restrooms as the white folk. But blacks could be educated. We just had to educate our own. We could marry whoever we wanted so long as we didn't marry a white person or try to. But again, this was in the South. If you were in the North, you could. It was still frowned upon, but you could do it. I find it, well, I guess since 72. We could only do all this since 1972. Forgetting the whole reason the Constitution was written and who was against certain provisions of it. Now, understand, I know there are some people saying, well, the Constitution said that we're only 3/5 of a human, Rod, if you're black. Look,